I made kolaches. And they're delicious. Yo, what's up, boys and girls? Swolelax here, and I'm back at it again in the video. This time, something a little bit different. Today, we're talking about Neo-Spacians. Now, if you don't know, Neo-Spacians are the signature archetype of the Season 2 and beyond Jade and Yuki, aka Judai, if you're a weeb. And you know me, I'm a huge GX fanboy. We've talked about heroes, we talked about Cyber Dragons, and so it was a matter of time before we got around talking about this beautiful, insane, garbage archetype. Literally, there is nothing well-designed about this archetype in the slightest. And a lot of that has to do with this guy right here, Elemental Hero Neos. Now, Neos is supposed to be the companion, the Dark Magician, so to speak, the mascot of the GX protagonist. And where that's fine and dandy, having a whole archetype revolving around a 2-sacrifice monster that you have to fusion summon, contact fusion summon, is a big issue. Now, we're not going to get into that inside of this video. Instead, we're gonna do it in kind of a series of videos. We're gonna be doing how to fix Neo-Spacians, why they suck, and just kind of in general, why they are designed poorly, and why this archetype just, ugh. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the main deck monster. And we've kind of given a rundown of Elemental Hero Neos as far as what he is, what he was supposed to do. And, I mean, come on. He's a brick. He is a brick. He's cool looking and he functions really well, but the whole deck revolves around having this guy on the field, having him survive, and having you contact fusion out with another monster. So contact fusion was this neat thing Konami decided to do, which is actually pretty cool. It's similar to link summoning or even synchro summoning, where you just have the two materials on board. You do not have to have polymerization, and then boom, use those two and either send them to the graveyard, shuffle them inside your deck, and you summon out your fusion monster guy. Now that would have been super sick. The issue is, though, this deck is way too slow to accomplish that. None of the Neo-Spacian cards, nor Elemental Hero Neos, can special summon themselves. The only way to get the smaller Neo-Spacian guys onto the field are with their cocoon and larvae forms, which are garbage. Now let's get into some of the problems with the Neo-Spacian cards. So first things first, you're gonna notice that these cards are all incredibly weak. The highest attack points of any of the Neo-Spacian main deck monsters is going to be Dark Panther with a whopping 1,000 attack points. Even back in the day, decks that were slower and could just slap down a 1,500 or even just an 1,800 monster would potentially destroy this deck. Granted, I know there are cards like Elemental Hero Prisma, which make the whole fusion and summoning thing a lot easier, but still this deck has just such a limited option in terms of special summoning. You can't special summon Neos, you can't special summon your Neo-Spacian small guys, technically. And on top of all that, the Neo-Spacians are not searchable. Even if the Elemental Hero cards were a little bit weak, at least they had E-Call and you could fuse out of your hand, so it didn't even matter if you had them on the field. Because contact fusion was the big shtick and gimmick with this whole entire deck, Konami thought it'd be really cool to make a super slow, underwhelming fusion deck that had such sick, insane fusion deck monsters, but such bad fusion material. Seriously, the only card that's searchable inside the Neo-Spacian deck is Elemental Hero Neos, and that's awful. Now the main strategy to do would be to have Prisma on the field, use Prisma's effect to send the fusion materials to the graveyard, maybe have King of the Swamp or something like that to substitute out stuff in your hands. But you get into the biggest problem with this deck is the monsters are too weak to stay out in the field a second time if you get the other normal summon out. If you wanted to get out the Neo-Spacian fusions, you have to have Honest Neos on the field, and even if you use Prisma, well then you gotta wait a turn to get your other normal summon out and then do it, which is bad. The whole mechanic of contact fusion really messes up these cards and makes the deck extremely slow. Now there are some exceptions that we'll be getting into with the spell cards in the next video, but for now, strictly talking about the monsters, having to have Neos on the field and praying that you have enough resources and enough time to get your other guy on the field, that way you have time to fusion someone out and hopefully get that effect off, well that's just a lot and you're wasting a bunch of resources for almost nothing. Now outside of contact fusion, outside of the summoning conditions, and outside of the non-searchability of these cards, you also run into the issue of the inconsistent typings and levels. All the Neo-Spacian monsters are different. You got Beast, Wing Beast, Rock, Warrior. The Warrior one, which is arguably the best one because you can search it with Rhoda, is Aqua Dolphin, and Aqua Dolphin sucks. Seriously, why didn't they just make all of these guys level 4 and Warrior monsters? That would make it so much easier. In fact, you could then search it, which would be nice, and there are other Warrior archetype cards you could splash in and make these things better. I don't get it. It's like they wanted this archetype to be bad. On top of that, if you wanted to splash in the Elemental Hero engine into this, well, then they don't mesh either way because the typings are all messed up and you can't search them, and they're not the same level, so you can't go in your rank plays. If it weren't enough that their stats are bad, their effects are underwhelming, they aren't searchable, their typings are all over the place, their levels are underwhelming, it's just a giant mess. Someone at Konami actually sat down and thought, you know what would be a really good idea? Then they continued to take the best anime protagonist, fight me, and ruin his deck. I haven't even touched on the spell cards or the fusion monsters, and there's already so many problems, which is why this topic has to be broken down in a couple videos. There's way too much to talk about. So let's slow down and back it up to what we need to fix inside of the main deck support before we can get into the spell cards or the trap cards or blah, 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 blah. First things first, level. Even if the typings were random, you gotta make sure they're all level 4s. The Elemental Hero monsters were primarily level 4s, except for Bristinatrix and Avion, which when fused together, they make a level 6 wingman, so thematically that makes sense, though it's still kind of dumb. Every single good Elemental Hero monster besides those 2 are level 4, so it only makes sense that these are level 4 as well. Now in typing, the typings of them all have to be warriors. And yes, I get it. Some of them aren't necessarily humanoid, some of them aren't necessarily warriors per se, but they're supposed to be like intergalactic space battling heroes. Why not have them just be warriors? That way you could search them with Rhoda at the least. Now their stat line. I'm gonna be honest, you don't have to change their stat line. If you can just fix those 2 things about it, it makes this a lot better. But if you had to change their stats, give them a boost of 1,000, make them a little bit stronger, and Grand Mole could actually stay the same, where it could stay a level 3 rock monster with 900 attack and be perfectly fine. That's one card I wouldn't change. You made one good Neo-Spacian, and that's how I would fix those guys. Essentially just some minor changes, the levels, the typing, and a little bit extra attack. You don't have to change their effects if you don't want to. If you could, you should make it to where if you have a Neos on the field, you can special summon them from your hand. That way you can normal summon another Neo-Spacian you may have in your hand and have some options available to you in terms of the contact fusion. That would be good design. Speaking of Elemental Hero Neos, this guy's gotta be special summonable. Like if you control a Neo-Spacian on the field, you can special summon this guy from your hand. That's exactly how this card needs to work. And if not, he needs to be level 5 or like something to where you could only need 1 sacrifice for, because wasting 2 monsters on him, normal summon him, ugh, gross. And yes, the Gemini sidekick guy ain't good either. Now, I'm getting a little bit heated, but what did we learn? Number 1, these cards suck. Number 2, they need to be easier to summon. Number 3, change their stats, at least make them a little bit stronger. Number 4, change their levels. Number 5, change their typings. And number 6, get rid of the larvae and the cocoon versions. They're just unnecessary. They don't need to be there. And for the love of God, make them searchable. Okay, that's actually a good point to stop, because that will get into the spell cards and what we need to fix that. But that'll be the next video. Anyways, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the Neo-Spacians? Do you guys like them? I think they're cool looking, and I'm a fan of the anime, so of course I have a nostalgic value for them, but man, this is a rough archetype. I don't know. What do you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. How would you fix them? What do you think? If you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. I got a lot more videos coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for that if you want to. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Peace out.